1992. I know you've probably talked about this ad nauseum, but I, you had a nasty fall.
Yes.
And I know what went, and here's what I'm getting at. What went through your mind when it happened, but also, how did you begin the healing process? And the reason that I bring this up is because you, from what I see, are very mentally tough. And how was that, I guess, did that fall and the recovery process, both physically and mentally, how did that affect your mental toughness for the remainder of your career, whether it be in business or in track?
That's a good question. I think people have always said, "Oh, I saw that fall. Oh my gosh, I cried for you," and I've never cried. I've never cried for that race. I'm the type of person that, like I talked about goals and dreams. I set goals for myself. I write them down. I put them in several places throughout my house because it's a constant reminder to me of what it is that I'm what path I'm on and what I'm focused on, what I'm trying to accomplish. And then in track and field, when I get out there on the track, the first thing I do, when you see the announcer or the starter telling us to take our sweats off, get ready to get in the blocks, I'm actually saying my prayers. And I'm asking God, literally my prayer is I'm asking God to run this race with me and for me, and whatever his will is, let it be done. So whatever the outcome is, people say that and people say, oh, yeah, I've prayed about it, I've done it. But when you let go and let God, it's truly out of your hands. And whatever the outcome is, that's the way it was supposed to be. So you can't you ask for something and then you get upset because it didn't work out the way you asked for it to be. And that's not what your prayer was. So for me, I gave it my all. I always tell people I have a thing called Club Force where I actually wear a band. I've had it on mine, probably needs to be changed, but called Force. And what Force stands for is focus on respect, commitment, and excellence. And this is a philosophy that I live my life by. So what happens is if I'm focused on a better tomorrow for myself, a better whatever, I'm respectful, I'm committed, I've worked, I've done what I had to do. When I get out on the track and I ask to run the best that I can run, people always talk about wanting to be successful. And I talk to kids and I ask them, first question I say, who wants to be successful? Of course, everybody's going to raise their hand. But do you really know what success means? Success is not defined by me reading a magazine that tells me I have to be a size of this, or I have to look a certain way, or I have to do a certain thing, or I have to be a certain way. I don't have to own the company. I don't have to make all the money. Being successful means that you have to be the best you that you can be. Everybody is not meant to be a doctor. Everybody's not meant to be an Olympian. Everybody's not meant to be a talk show host. Okay, so it's whatever your talent is, you be the best you that you can be, and then you're successful. And if you know that, any task that you set out to accomplish, if you give, like they say, you can't give more than 100%, so I always tell people give 100 and a little oomph, and that's going to take you over. So if anything that I go out to accomplish, I give it my all, and I can turn around and say, you know what, I gave my best shot today. I don't care what the outcome is as far as what other people were looking for. I'm successful. So in that fall that you talked about in 92, I gave it my all. I was on world record pace because the statisticians have a way of letting you know, oh, my gosh, had you not fallen, you would have broken the world record, da-da-da-da-da. But for me, I was successful. I can't cry because I gave it my best. If I had done something in the race where I'm like, okay, I wasn't doing this or I wasn't doing that, I'd kind of dogged out the race, and I've never done that. I ran my heart out. So I'm successful. So why cry over it? There's something else that I'm supposed to go back and do. And, I'll even tell it to you this way. Had I won that race, I would have been done with track and field because that was my goal that I wrote down.
Wow.
To win the 100 and to win the 100-meter hurdles. So doing it my way, I wouldn't have 25 years at the age going on 43, and people are like, are you ever going to retire? No, not yet. I wouldn't have the career that I have. But that fall, what it did for me, I had to regroup. I had to pick up and say, okay, wasn't meant to be today. That doesn't mean that I can't come back. That doesn't mean that that's not a race that I have the capability of winning. I got to go back. I have to learn some things. I have to regroup. I have to figure out, if I got my lead leg up or my trail toe, did I hit with my knee, my toe, whatever it has to be for me to reevaluate, take out the negative, keep the positive, and keep adding on to that to keep going. And that's where I am. You know, that's from illness. You know, with my Graves' disease, it was the same thing. And I tell people, if I had my whole life to live over again, I would want everything that has happened to me, I would want it to happen again because it's made me into the person that I am. And you don't think that you're tough until you have to deal with something. And I always tell people, everybody has it in them. You just have to find it. And sometimes you have to reach way down to your toes to find that inner strength, to empower yourself, to get yourself going, to say, I can do this. But what's helped me in my life is having my dream. And whatever my dream is, because that's something that you really want. You take that dream. You don't just sit it on the shelf. You turn it into a goal. And now it's something that I'm shooting for. I have a reason to get up every morning. There's something that, you know, I have purpose in my life. People always say, I'm going to play the lotto, I'm going to win $1 million or whatever. The chances of that happening, not saying that it can't, but are slim to none. But if you're just going to sit there and wait for that, or I used to tell people, you're waiting for Ed McMahon to come and, you know, hand you a check, he's not coming. If he does, let that be gravy. What are you working towards while that's coming? You know, it has to be something that you're purposeful. You have a reason to get up every morning. You want to, you know, for me it was, I'll work out a couple hours extra. You know, I'll go to sleep a little later, get up a little earlier, just to make sure that I've done everything when I step on that line to accomplish my goals and dreams. And it's the same thing. I transfer that into the business world now, you know, and it's made a difference.
And you know what? That one of the things that I tell people too, and is that discipline is so important because it's discipline and then the ability, because we're in a what have you done for me, I want it now society. But it takes a lot of discipline for someone like a Gail Devers to train for 4 years to run a race that only lasts a few seconds.
I mean, yes.
You know?
It does. I mean, it's kind of scary when you say it that way, but it's true. We train 4 years every day, or at least 5 to 7 times a week, several hours a day, and it comes down to in the 100, less than 11 seconds. In the hurdles, less than 12.5. So, and when it's done, it's done.
When it's done, it's done.